gosh, Leland, your gecko's tail looks really weird.
Oh yeah, it just grew back. Like a couple of weeks ago it got cut off. Yeah.
And it grew back?
Yeah, it's like geckos have this weird ability to grow their tail back.
How?
It's like, that reminds me, it's like stem cell. You know, people use embryonic stem cells in our world to like grow back.
What are embryonic stem cells?
You don't know what it is?
No, I don't know what they are.
Here, I'll show you a video.
Human embryonic stem cells can become any cell type in the body if scientists can give them the right environment and guide them to become that particular cell. It could be a nerve cell, a blood cell, a pancreatic cell, a heart muscle cell, or a bone cell.
Okay, that video told me what it was, but isn't that kind of wrong? You're killing another life.
Yeah, but then another person could like benefit from it, you know?
But you're killing a life in order to save another one. That sounds kind of wrong.
Yeah, but it has the like eventually we'll be able to cure all these diseases. Isn't that better than just one life?
Yeah, I guess, but... And that's how we got to create a knowledge issue, which is...
How do different ethical systems justify the decision making in the natural sciences?
Today we'll be talking about the 4 different ethical systems that will help justify our knowledge issue, which is how do the different ethical systems justify the decision making in the natural sciences? They are cultural relativism, divine command theory, Kantianism, and utilitarianism. Today I'm going to be talking about the cultural relativism view, and the cultural relativism view is basically a view that a person should be judged by the standards of his own culture and not by the standards of an outside culture. For example, if I was to grow up in a culture that believed that killing was wrong, then that's how I would view things, and I wouldn't approve of someone killing an embryo for stem cell research. However, if I was to grow up in a culture where helping others and saving their lives was a bigger emphasis, and that was our main focus, then I would believe that embryonic stem cell research is correct. And by using cultural relativism view, then I would believe that, and as a whole view of the stem cell research is that helping others and helping to help other lives is what is actually the foundation of all the cultural relativism view. And as a cultural relativist, cultural relativists should not force their opinions on anyone else's because everyone's culture is different. Forcing your opinions on another person should not be allowed because everyone has their own perspectives on culture, and the cultural relativism view should not affect the way that someone views their way on a broad subject and controversial subject such as stem cell research, because everyone has their own perspectives.
So, based on your ethical point of view, how would you justify the decision making in the natural sciences?
If my culture believed that killing is wrong above everything else, then I would justify the decision to be against the natural sciences if the natural sciences were to take a life to save another. However, if I was part of a culture that believed that helping others was the main focus, then I would support the decision making of the natural sciences in order to help others.
Okay, so I'm going to be talking about the ethical point of view of divine command, which is like anything that you do, it will be morally wrong if what makes it wrong is simply that God commanded us not to do it. So basically divine command separates morality from human suffering by basing morality on commands coming from another world, which is like God and what other higher beings they believe in. And from the Catholic perspective, stem cell use is related to abortion, euthanasia, and other types of attacks on innocent life, and they believe it's wrong ultimately because human life is worth of the same dignity given to other humans, and that every life deserves to have the same chance at life like everyone else. So they believe that everyone will die, but no one except God has the right to take someone's life away or kill a human being. And no matter how good one's intentions are or the good that they believe will come as a consequence from their actions, no matter all of that, how good it is, they believe that the only opinion that matters is God. And if God commanded us not to take anyone's life, then they believe that killing is wrong. And so it basically all just depends on God's or their belief, their higher deities' views on it. So with stem cells, they believe that it's wrong to kill life, and that would mean that the use of stem cell would be wrong.
How does your ethical point of view justify the decision-making in the natural sciences?
Well, divine command justifies that decision as right or wrong because it focuses on the belief that killing is wrong or that taking of one's life is wrong. Therefore, based on this ethical point of view, the decision would be to be against the advancement of the natural sciences in that decision.
Now I'll be talking about the third perspective, which is the Kantianism. The Kantianism perspective of the decision-making in the natural sciences classifies the living things on Earth into three classifications. Number one, people. These are the people who have the amount of legal rights, the same rights as any other person. Second, people with partial rights, which includes children, the mentally disabled, and those who can't perform the actions that a normal person can. And third, things. They are anything besides people. They are animals, plants, and any other living thing besides humans. The Kantian perspective focuses on the maxim or the principle rather than the action that is performed. The Kantian perspective focuses on the motive or how you were influenced to perform that action rather than the actual action or the actual duty that was performed. And the goal is maybe a motive, but the action performed because of the goal is what is not as emphasized in the Kantian perspective. And since the Kantian perspective looks at the motive for the action rather than the actual duty, the means to perform the action is also put into play. For example, if I were to donate a stem cell to science or the natural sciences because I didn't want it, for example, the abortion, if I want to abort my baby, there is an embryonic stem cell that could be either destroyed or be spared for sciences. That would be accounted for a morally bad motive because my actual principle or maxim was not to save the baby and let it live. It was to abort it, and then that could be used as an alternate ending to use for embryonic stem cells. And since my motives aren't good, that would be considered a morally horrible act. The Kantian perspective also recommends to act on a good maxim and think about how it become a universal law. And the universal law is basically how it affects everyone as a whole, rather than, as a society rather than the individual. And the Kantian perspective focuses on the maximum principle of a certain act rather than the actual duty.
So how does your ethical point of view justify the decision-making in the natural sciences?
In the Kantian perspective, if the motive for using the natural sciences was morally good and formulates a universal law, then I would support the decision-making in the natural sciences. However, if the motive for using the natural sciences disrupted the flow of morally good maxims, I would disapprove of it.
Okay, in the ethical point of view of utilitarianism, they believe that the greater good of society is the main focus, and that an action that benefits society as a whole, even at the detriment or cost of another, or even if a sacrifice has to be made, is moral or is the right decision in their view. And the goal of utilitarianism is to benefit the majority of the society, and majority is the key word in this case. So stem cell use would ultimately benefit society as a whole because it would, for the future, like cure debilitating diseases, a long list of diseases, and it would cure illnesses and advance science greatly just at the cost of an embryo. One embryo has many stem cells that could, turn into other cells and just cure diseases and help fix people and just, make them better. But just one at the cost of one embryo, you can benefit like the whole society, even the world, at the cost of one. And in this case, it'd be therefore benefiting the society as a whole, and it would be considered right.
So based on your ethical point of view, how does that affect the decision making in the natural sciences?
Well, based on my ethical point of view, if the decision of the natural sciences called for just killing one life for the sake of the majority of the society, then in my point of view, I would support that decision. Okay, so we've come to the conclusion about how to answer our knowledge issue, which is how do different ethical systems justify the decision making in the natural sciences?
We believe that the utilitarianism view is what we believe in because we believe that supporting the greater good and saving lives is what we believe is better. And although there are some faulties such as killing an embryo or taking away someone's life, we believe that maximizing for the greater good is what we believe.
And there are implications to our view, which are like, since we believe that killing is okay for this case, for benefiting the greater good, there will be death and killing, in our case, implications, which will be sacrificing lives and stuff. But we hope that you'll believe our view, or you'll believe this is the right thing.
And to prove that, we are using another real world example, such as animal testing. And we believe that the animal testing deals with the different ethics that justify whether or not the decision is to be supported. For example, we're using a view as a utilitarian view, which is maximizing for the greater good. And in a utilitarian perspective, they would say something like animal testing should be allowed, or it shouldn't be allowed because it helps prove that these type of medical sciences won't work, or these won't work, or these will work. So in utilitarian version, they always look at maximizing the greater good rather than specific individuals.
And like a personal view would be like, if you're a pet owner or you support the animals' rights, then you could say, you would say, why would you test on animals when they have a brain, they have, they have a body, they could feel all the things you're testing them on, and we believe that like testing on animals is cruel, and if you were that animal, would you want to be tested on? And they could have all different types of views on this. It just depends on their ethics, and we've already talked about all the ethical implications. So
some implications of animal testing are there are many animal advocates who believe that animal testing is cruel and they believe that it is morally wrong. However, there are people who support animal testing and argues that animals aren't people, they don't have human rights, and so they are available to us as an advantage, and we are allowed to use them for our own purposes and our own principles. So there are many different perspectives on just one ethical system, and so by using one ethical system you can prove and argue or support other ethical systems as well.
And using those ethical systems, that's when you can justify decision making. So
in the natural sciences.
Okay, so I'm Leland Nguyen.
I'm Hazel Han, and this is our TOK presentation.
Thanks for watching.
Bye!